Well, welcome to Off Script with Rip. I'm Ryan, and I got my first guest, Gavin Sheets. Gav, for those that don't know, Gavin plays for a team called the Chicago White Sox, if you've ever heard of them. But Gavin and I have a way longer history. It's probably too long. I mean, how would you define our friendship, Gavin?
The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? We've been through all the stages of life. The lower school stages, our awkward phases, and here we are now. So full circle.
Full circle, yeah. To bring people back into what that entails. So Gavin and I, our families have been intertwined since really before we were born, before you were born. And then we spent a lot of time going through elementary, middle school, high school. For those who don't know, lower school is elementary school. Baltimore can be a little bit strange. But I'm glad you could define our friendship in that way. I think it took a different level and a positive. I mean, I guess we stayed friends because you put me in your wedding.
Right.
So that's always exciting. But we've also come a long way. You know, we were talking about this off. We were not the best looking guys at a young age. I mean, I'm going to pull up some photos of you as a kid, but we both rock these vintage bowl cuts.
Oh man. You have to question if our parents really liked us when we were little. What they did to us should never happen to any kids.
Tough. It was tough. But like, I feel like that was a thing in the 90s, early 2000s. You know, I don't know. I looked at the Backstreet Boys for me personally. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Nick Carter had that type of look. And I guess my mom tried to emulate Nick Carter.
Both of them did, yeah. You know, I think that's why we had our friendship early, is because we just had the bowl cuts. We didn't have many other friends. So it was like we just kind of we found each other like having friendship with ourselves. And yeah, it's I'm glad we got out of that stage. Mine took a little bit longer than it should have. I think you got out of it a little quicker than me, but no, I'm glad we've pushed that away.
Better today, man. You look a lot more groomed. You're a married man.
You too, yes. Yeah.
Shout out to Kayla for putting up with you.
Somehow.
Shout out to Jamie for putting up with me.
Shout out to Jamie for you. And somehow we outkicked our coverage and doing all right.
Yeah, for the most part. I think we're hanging in there.
Started choppy, but it's all right now.
Yeah, it's way better now. Well, you know, so to fill back in with everything with Gilman, and for people that want to know, it was a school that we started at when we were, I think you started when you were 6 too, right? 7?
Yeah, first grade.
So, which was crazy for us, and people, if you hear the names, you hear Ripken, you hear Sheets, you're going to think about the baseball families. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Gavin and I had that experience of not only going through Gilman together, but then we had our dads coach us in high school, which I don't know how you felt about it. First off, love your dad. Love Larry. Pretty hard on the boys.
Yeah, definitely hard on us.
Yeah. But that was, I don't know how you felt. Did that feel weird at all to you, having your dad coach you? Because for me, I felt strange initially, but it kind of felt right.
Yeah, you know, the best thing that happened for me was he came in when I was in 8th grade. So, I think he purposely did that, where he came in before I was able to be on varsity or anything, and so he could kind of take the reins and coach without having me first, which was definitely nice. But, you know, I think for both of us, it was an awesome experience for us, and he helped turn around the program, which more than anything was really nice for us because they were really bad.
Oh, yeah, they weren't good. I mean, you weren't there for the 3-16 year. I was. That was brutal, to say the least. And actually, you know what's funny? I was thinking about this. Your dad was very chill that first year, because I remember him telling me, he's like, yeah, if we do well, that's great. But, no, you know, if we go out there, we're just about having fun.
Yeah.
And then we won that year. He came in first year, and then all the expectations were rising. But it was definitely a unique perspective. I remember a lot of people telling us so much about they looked at it in a different light. They looked at it as we had 2 professionals coaching our team. And I don't know about you. I did not really feel about it that way. It just felt like those are our dads. And for us, we know how strict they are and how analytical they are about the game.
Yeah, and I think for us, I feel like they had as much fun with it as we had. You know, it brought them back to their playing days and, you know, being roommates going up through the minors. And, you know, it was fun to see the way they bonded too, just like they were back in the clubhouse. So I think it was as fun for us as it was for them. And, it was never that, you know, you have 2 pros coaching us. I always felt like it was just, you know, they were enjoying it just as much as we were, which I think, everybody felt that and rallied around it, and that's why we had so much success there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just it's so interesting to me just looking back on, I guess, life. We're getting older. I'm getting closer to 30. You're approaching that soon. And by the way, 30 is not old. For everyone that's listening, that's not what
20.
I'm saying. But I feel like I'm just getting older because hairline. If you saw pictures of us going back to high school, I had the real long shaggy hair, and I felt all, I thought that was a good look. Not a good look. If you have kids, don't let them do that. It's a terrible look. But now the hairline for me is up there.
Yeah, you would love a bowl cut now.
I would endorse it right around there. I mean, I can't even tell you about, well, we'll save that for the hair products. You get an endorsement for hair suppliers. This is a good ad. Help me out, please. But that was a lot of fun. So the next thing, kind of moving forward, and Gilman was so much fun. We had the full experience, and it felt like the whole world. And we could go on and on about Gilman, but no one wants to hear about all the high school stuff. I just remember back when I went off to college, and the whole South Carolina experience, for me, as we know, didn't go the way I wanted to. And you had a chance to go to a lot of different schools. And I remember you were balancing between the really big name schools and a school like Wake Forest. And I can't tell you how happy I was that you chose Wake. Did you ever think that wasn't going to be the plan? Did you ever have that sensation? Like I took the bait.
Yeah.
And I felt that, okay, big name school and it has all the perks.
Sure, and I think that seeing your experience, seeing a bunch of other guys that I play with that have tough experiences going to the big name school, the top 5 team in the country, and that's some of the teams I was looking at were those schools, and it came down to a school like that in Wake, and seeing the experiences that you had, some of the other buddies had, and just kind of hearing the horror stories. And then seeing the relationship I had with the Wake coaches, it really pushed me that way. And still to this day, one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I certainly wouldn't be in the spot I am now without Wake Forest and my experience there.
Yeah, I mean, Wake. So I think people get lost in this game, and this is kind of like a whole different discussion. I know this is where we're talking about going a little off script. I think people get so involved with college athletics and their kids, even in high school, getting to the next level, and you think that you need to have them go to all the showcases, have them go to this specific school because this is what you look at, and people can get caught up in all the, I don't want to say the excitement, it's not antics, but people don't understand. If you have your aspirations to play at the next level and moving forward, you got to have an opportunity, and that's not to shy away from competition, but for you coming in, you came into a chance to have an opportunity, but not necessarily you had to go. Not that it was given to you, but you had to go and earn it.
Yeah, and I felt like where I was as a high schooler or even coming in as a freshman year, I wasn't ready to play at a big school like that. I wasn't ready to come in and take the reins and compete for a national championship in terms of and start for a team like that because I hadn't developed that way. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't a good enough athlete at the time, and if I didn't have that time at Wake Forest where I was starting my freshman year and going through those growing pains and struggling and learning how to struggle, and if I go to a big school and don't get that opportunity until junior year and then I start struggling junior year, it's a completely different turnout for me.
Yeah.
And you can't play pro ball, you can't move on the next level from the bench. You have to get out there and play, and you have to, whether it's D3, D2, D1, teams are going to find you. Major League Scouts have a job of finding talent.
Yeah, we're going to jump into that in a little bit because I think as we got into pro ball, we realized where so many guys come from. They're whether it's, domestically, internationally, there's so many different avenues to get to this next level. Mm-hmm. But everyone thinks, and that's the part that I was naive to it then. And again, us growing up, I don't know how you felt. I mean, I thought it was awesome that we had a parent that played professional sports, but I don't think you understand the concept of how to get there. I think for them, you go, wow, oh, that's nice. Oh, my dad was a baseball player, and we forget about how much effort actually goes into and their paths, what they did 30 years ago.
And we also understand how hard it is.
Oh,
and how it's not just. I mean, I feel like so many people now, high schoolers are. I was never thinking about playing professionally in high school until I got to the end of my college career where I felt like I had the ability to. I wasn't playing baseball to play professionally. And I just feel like so many kids nowadays, starting at 12 years old up, are trying to play professionally right away, and that's their main goal and their end goal. And I think we both understood how hard it is and how there's 750 Major League Baseball players in the world. We got every country playing the sport, and I just feel like there's too much pressure on kids now you're playing a sport to play professionally. No, you're playing a sport because you love it and you're having fun with it.
And the different generation now where we're seeing specialization. And I was actually thinking about you were an unreal golfer. I wish I had that. I'm trying to pick up golf, by the way, right now. Bachelor party, played some rounds, not my best showing. And I'm more pissed because I lost our match, not against you, but I'm a competitor. It sucked.
An equal match, too.
It was an equal match.
It
was an equal match, but the putter wasn't there, nor was the irons or the driver. I'm not bitter about it. But
everything else was there, though.
Anything else was there. But, for me, your thought wasn't, to your point, your thought wasn't on that. So touch a little bit on how valuable it was to be involved with other sports.
Yeah, one of my favorite sports is obviously golf too, but basketball. I love playing basketball. I was terrible in high school at it, but I love playing
because you didn't want to go and play defense.
Right.
You find your corner spot.
Find my corner spot and shoot it.
Yeah.
And if you don't pass it, it's your fault. But I loved that. Like, I love competing in different ways. I love being on a basketball team. I loved just football, just all the different sports that you could play. And I feel like everything now is so specialized. You have to play one sport. There's no off season. You have to train for it. You have to play club. You have to play high school. Like, those are some of my favorite memories on the basketball team, and football, and just all those different sports that. Sure, I wasn't trying to go pro. I wasn't trying to go college. I wasn't even doing it because I was good at it. I just did it because I had so much fun with it and loved it, and loved competing in different ways and being a part of different teams and different athletes. And I feel like now that all that stuff's getting taken away from kids because they're trying to, once again, play professionally at 13 years old.
Yeah, you want to set high expectations, or I shouldn't say, you want to have high goals, but then the expectations become so high that you're forgetting about the process.
Sure.
And tell you what, that causes a lot of anxiety. I was a very anxious person, and some people would argue that I'm still an anxious person on a day-to-day basis. That's probably why I have a little bit of tequila to calm the nerves on the rocks with a lime, if you guys wanted to know my order. But the adjustment period to go back now to college, because this is kind of where it's a tough time to just be a kid at that age, because you're going from high school to college, new environments, you're on your own. And then all of a sudden you're trying to figure out yourself as a player. What did you notice? Because I saw some adjustments, but from yourself, your freshman, the sophomore to even junior year, what did you find out about yourself?
I found a lot of things. One, I found that, I was finally on a true weightlifting regimen. I felt like I came in at, 6'4", 6'5", 210, and by my junior year, I was 6'4", 235. But I was faster. I was faster at the 60. I was stronger. I could jump higher. I learned how to be an athlete, and I learned how to grow into my body, and just so much of that I feel like you miss, if you make that jump to pro ball, or you go somewhere where you don't play and you're not invested as much. But for me, it was just growing into my body, learning how to fail, learning how to play college baseball, catching up to the speed of the game. Just so many parts of that went into each year. And as you said, learning how to be on your own, learning how to be a man and everything. So, that's all stuff that's a part of that process that goes by the wayside. People don't think about.
Yeah. So a lot of, what was the ab movements, the wabbas?
Yeah, the wabbas.
Big wabbas.
The wabbas. All the punishment running, all that stuff just builds character.
Makes you better.
Well, makes you better.
Yeah, it definitely builds some mental toughness.
Yeah.
But I don't want to fool anybody. You're not built for speed. No offense. The jumping did not get that much better. It went from 2 inches to 4. And
got a credit card under it, so it did get a little better.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, good, nice. Proud of you. Well, we can test it out some days. We can go back to the gym.
Yeah.
And see what you can do. I actually went back the other day, and now that I'm done playing, I was proud of myself. I actually got up there and dunked, surprisingly, and then I got stuffed by the rim 2 times in a row. So, but if we're talking about baseball here, 1 for 3 is amazing. Yeah. Wish I did that a lot more, but if I did that a lot more, I'd still be playing. But so, talk me through then your sophomore to junior year. Your junior year came on a tear. No offense, I thought you were on your way, but what you did was stupid.
Yeah.
The numbers were stupid. Did you get so much in a point where you got so in a role that you stopped thinking? Was it something that you had pressure going on? Because the draft itself provides pressure.
Yeah.
You can say all you want, hey, you're not thinking about pro ball. At that point, going into your junior season, that's on your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, what did you have to tell yourself so you didn't get too far ahead? And then how did you stay just hot?
Well, there were a couple things. And number one, the biggest thing for me was our team was really good, and we were having a great time together. And, I went into a team that was, didn't make the ACC tournament my freshman year, barely made a regional my sophomore year, and all of a sudden everything clicked. Yeah. So for me, it took all the nervousness about the draft and everything, all the focus off that went out the window because I knew we had a chance to do something special. So for me, it was, let's win as many games as possible. Let's get to the College World Series. And, I think that made such a big difference when you put, the excitement of winning, the excitement of helping your team out first. And so it takes all that pressure off because all you're trying to do is win and get to the College World Series, do something special. So obviously I got on a roll and, it kind of took all that pressure off, just going out there, trying to win games, enjoying every bit of it. And, obviously a couple of things clicked with my swing and I was able to put together a really good season. But I don't think that happens if we're scuffling or if we're, don't have good team chemistry and all my focus is on the draft.
Yeah, so for everyone hearing that, this is coming from my own experience. I always felt it was so much easier to play when you're winning or when your goal is to go out there and compete for your team. Because once you take it about yourself, it's already enough pressure. You already know the obvious, but I'm so glad you said that because I think so many people, as part of this process, forgets about why you're playing the game. For sure. It's a team aspect. You're going out there to try to kick the other team's ass and go out there and win the game.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, nothing is harder than going into a season where you're well out of contention, you have nothing to play for, and now you truly have to play for yourself. I mean, that's the hardest thing I personally feel like it can deal with.
I think a lot of guys fight that when they first get into pro ball for the first time. It's all of a sudden, for me, it was, I had one of the greatest, college teams and that I've been a part of, and we did something special. We were pulling for each other, and then you get to, low A or high A your first year, and it's like, man, this is completely different. Like, guys are just trying to get moved up to double A. Guys aren't here to win this game. They could care less if we win tonight.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even care about, you make the playoffs. Do we have to be here for longer? We've already been gone for months.
Right.
So the whole perception changes, and I think that gets lost. It's such a hard concept when you grow up the entire way that you've played, and then you get into a different level. But I'm glad that's what a lot of people, I feel like in general, going from college to pro ball feel. But hey, you know what? Great year. Got to pro ball. Whole different world. You got to be in some great towns and experiences, except the White Sox had some good spots.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. Our organization had, from high A to the big leagues, it was first class. Low A now is first class, but when I first got there, it was
Kannapolis?
It was a special place.
Woof. Talk about woof.
So you want to go? I mean, my junior year at Wake, we just finished a $12 million facility, and it was like, it was big league. And so I'm like, okay, get drafted. I go to low A. I'm like, okay, it's professional baseball now. It's gonna be nice.
You think it's
gonna
we're moving up in the world.
I'm moving up. It's gonna be a step up, and I walk in, and it's about a 50 square foot room and steel lockers, and you're right on top of the guy to your left and right, and you got bugs flying in the shower. I'm like, all right,
it's a rude awakening.
Maybe it's not a step up anymore.
No, I mean, you go to Hagerstown, that might be 10 steps down.
Yeah,
I did enjoy my time in Hagerstown with the people and whatnot. The stadium itself, it has history.
It's
first day in Hagerstown that I spent. It was 35 degrees and we practiced. Went in to take a shower. It's so old. The bathroom systems are connected to the showers. Someone had used the bathroom.
Perfect.
Had some issues, and everything came up in the shower. You can use your imagination. Safe to say, the shower was not used. So there was more times that we couldn't use the facilities.
Right. Probably for the best, though.
Probably it was probably for
the
you know
best.
what? His locker was right next to where all the commotion was. This guy,
of course,
just wafting great experience. And But so the whole pro ball experience, to your point, I know you were always a guy who had a good eye, knew the strike zone, and obviously had pop in college, and you had the ability, always did. But I remember specifically for you in high A, it was coming back from the injury, trying to find yourself, and yes, you did hit the 2 home runs off of Mike Bauman, saved your career,
Saved my season. Thanks, Mike.
Saved season, career. Till this day, Mike takes credit for that, which, if you don't know, Mike Bauman on the Orioles. Gavin was coming back. You were struggling coming back from your injury, right?
I was struggling. I was, it was right after the All-Star break. I was barely hitting 240, 250, and came to, what was that, Frederick, F-Town, baby.
Yeah,
and good thing you're close with Mike, and we're really close, great guy. But, yeah, he hit 2 home runs off him that night and kind of jump-started my season. So still owe him a lot.
The Frederick Freds, man. I mean, you just love playing anything related to the Baltimore Orioles, and you make it known. But, yeah, but then so that rest of the year, I remember you got hot, and you ended up hitting almost 300 or close to that. But then it still didn't seem like it was enough.
Right.
And I remember you were frustrated by you had the success and you still felt like you weren't getting the recognition and you weren't feel like you were moving. So what adjustment did you focus on then that off season? Because they essentially were saying, hey, this is great, but we want more. We want to see what your position that you're playing. We want to see a different level of production.
Yeah, and I think, from both our dads always told me, the first thing you do in pro ball is you learn how to hit. You have to be able to hit. Power comes last. You learn how to be a good hitter, learn how to be a professional hitter with a wood bat, like facing velocity you've never seen before. And that was it. I hit 300 in high A, but I felt like I had a terrible season. I had guys coming in to work with me, guys trying to teach me how to hit for power. And it's like, I know how to hit for power, but, I was learning how to hit. I was learning how to adjust this level. And so there was definitely a lot of frustration. Obviously, the position I played, being a first baseman, now outfielder, but you have to produce. You have to hit home runs. You have to drive RBIs, and so that off season, that was my main goal. Is like, how can I focus on putting off my best swing every time with intent to do damage? And that was the biggest adjustment. I mean, obviously, training increased, tried to get stronger. I wanted to have more room for air to put the ball at the ballpark, but it's just kind of saying, all right, they don't want average. Clearly, but they want home runs and production, and so that was what I put my full emphasis on. Was every day in the cage, how do I get my ace swing off? How do I hit a breaking ball with my ace swing? How do I hit a live fastball with my ace swing? And that was my main focus going forward.
So then, when you're saying that with the ace swing, and so we'll get a little technical here. We can allow a little bit of that. But so in the cage, when we talk about the ace swing, we were trying to hit breaking balls. We were just trying. What drills were you trying to work on?
So I was trying to really train myself to catch the ball in front. The only way to get the ball in the air is to catch it out in front. So how can I catch the ball in front with, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball? How can I do that, maximize every opportunity to catch the ball in front, or breaking balls, catch the ball up front and drive it to center field, left center, right center for power? Yeah. Where I was a low-line drive, not a high swing and miss, not a high strikeout guy. I realized that wasn't as important as it was to start driving the baseball. And so that was what I trained to do. If it was not quite all or nothing, but certainly getting close to where, okay, I need to really be taking my shots until 2 strikes, but really get after it and then try to do some damage.
Okay, it's good to know. You're right. I've heard the game's changed so much from the last 10 years, and even the last 20 years, where so many players, like the emphasis growing up, I remember it was, especially when you're younger, it's like you want to hit home runs. You want to hit extra base hits, but it always was, what was your average? What did you hit? Oh, I hit, in high school, it's like you hit over 400. Yeah. Great. But now you get the pro ball, you hit 220, hit 40 bombs.
Yeah. Now it's, what's your OPS? What's your slugging? What's your on base? What's your slugging? And I get it now. A single shouldn't count the same as a home run, or a single shouldn't count the same as a double, and that's why you have OPS now for slugging. And so when you get into that and you get into the new age baseball, I know our dads are not always for it and not always
a little more hard-headed on it.
A little bit.
It's a little more the old school.
So it's an adjustment for us and for our mentality, and but it starts to make sense. If I get on first base, how am I going to help the team? I'm not going to steal second, so I need to get on second base, driving runs, hit the ball at the ballpark, and a single is not going to really help us that much. So once you start to understand that and you understand what the team's looking for, I feel like it's easier to shape who you are as a player.
That's a good point. I will say it is, if you get 4 hits in every game, though, I don't care if they're bloop, poop shoots, whatever you want to call up down the line. Actually, your first hit down the line, left field line, there it is. Those count. I want to go back real quick. Voices in your head during the season for that year, and I know it was a lot. I mean, I already fight my own inner demons, and I know you do. Having 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 other people come in and talk to you constantly.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself being overwhelmed, or how are you able to calm your mind in those situations so you don't feel like it's too much?
I did, and I think that's the biggest thing I've learned over, my 4 years in pro ball, 5 years in pro ball leading up to the big leagues was the art of saying no, the art of saying thank you, but this doesn't work. When I first got to pro ball, I was trying to please everybody, every hitting coach, every coordinator, everybody. I respected them, so I wanted to do exactly what they told me. I wanted to try it. And then I started to realize that every person is telling me something different. They're all trying to get a good result. They all mean it in a good way.
Yeah, the intentions are good.
The intentions are good, but they also want to be that guy that gets me to the big leagues. If I say one thing to him, it might click, it might not. But, if I can be the guy that got him to the big leagues, that helps them out as well. So for me, it was learning how to say no. Like, hey, I appreciate it. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that's going to work for me. And that's the biggest thing I've learned over my time in the pro ball to the big leagues is that everything doesn't work for everybody. You have to know yourself as a hitter. You have to be your own best coach because, I'm hit for 24, 25, 6 years now. And, I know my swing better than anybody. And you have to be able to own that. And because at the end of the day, I remember someone telling me this, at the end of the day, it's not their baseball card. At the end of the day, it's your baseball card. It's your numbers. It's your career. Do you want to go at the end of your career and say, it didn't work because that guy doesn't affect that guy at all.
No.
Like he was trying to help, but it didn't work for you. So why did you keep doing it? So that was the biggest thing I learned was just be your own best hitting coach and, learn how to respectfully say no.
Isn't that like a life lesson though too? I'm terrible at this. You can ask Jamie about it. I am terrible at saying no sometimes.
Yeah.
But to your point, for baseball, I mean, you've been your coach. You're the only one that's been present for everything. If you think about it that way, you're the only person each and every day when you go on. The only constant thing that's happening is that you are always there. Other people are going to come and go, but you're the one that always has to do it. And that's to your point. And for life as well. I mean, that's the same way. Like I'm glad you brought in that. Now it's like it's opening up my mind here of so much. I feel that we want to try to be respectful and change for others, but you should be respectful. Right. We're not going out there and say don't do that. If someone is disrespecting you, then gloves are off. You do what you need to do.
It's respectfully saying no.
Respectfully
saying no. Yeah.
But you got to look out for your best interest. And there's a difference between being selfish and doing the best thing for yourself.
Absolutely.
So, but I think that gets tangled in there. And I always struggled with that because I always felt like I was a terrible person by not listening, but I felt myself not trusting who I was. And it sounds like once you cut that off, you were able to not only figure out yourself more, but you had more confidence as a person.
Well, and then, the more people you start to listen, the more people you start to rely on. Like you don't rely on your own judgment. You don't rely on your own coaching, your own swing thoughts. So, I found that, hey, if I can get in a good headspace, somewhere where I can just be confident in what I believe in, what I know is right, what's worked for me over my career, then you can start to listen to people in a different way and you can, try to take things that might work that they're saying. But at the end of the day, you make the final judgment. I don't want to have a bad month or a bad season and say, man, it's all because of that guy. Well, it affects me. It doesn't affect that guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. You put you pass the blame on to somebody else. You deflect as well. And look, I'm the same way. I mean, even a little thing, except GPS is one thing I always plug in. Now I feel so reliant on that. But for that reason, I'll give that a pass because I put GPS on for one reason only, because late after games coming back from Frederick one time, didn't check because I'm like, I know the route. Everything's fine. Accident happened. I didn't get back till 4 a.m. and I had to drive an hour back to Frederick at 5 to make the bus at 6:30.
Should have just slept there.
Should have just slept. Yeah, pulled over on the side of the highway. But knowing me, I'm a last minute guy sometimes.
You're always early though.
I'm always early. You know what's
Always.
okay? We'll go down memory lane here for just a second here. So the other part of the whole Gilman connection thing was I occasionally did not show up on time.
No, you occasionally were on time.
Okay, however you want to word it. I actually think I remember you saying you would look. What was it? You would look out. So to give people perspective, you have to park in the parking lots at the bottom of the school. You have to walk up these steps, up a hill, and then there's all the windows of the school that can look out.
And my first period class was looking directly at the student parking lot, so I could see every day. Ryan would be coming up, his big Ravens coat, his magical lunchbox. It was the biggest thing I've ever seen, and he'd be jogging at about 9 o'clock every day coming up the hill. I would love watching him see coming up, 45 minutes late every day. That was the highlight of my first period.
Well, that's why I'm here to bring it. It was funny. Well, not really funny at the time, but then your dad would be up in his office on the other side because you could also see it from where the gym is. And he would try to quiz me like, hey, what time did you get here? First period go okay. I'm like, yeah, it went great. Calculus was awesome. Yeah.
Best class of the day.
Learned a lot.
Yeah.
Well, really. And then he would get on me, reprimand. And then, consolation because of the lunchbox. If I gave him a little something, he'd back off.
You give him a cookie, he'd be like, "Oh, good calculus class today."
Yeah, you're gonna hear a lot about this lunchbox. I was very spoiled as a kid. It was not a lunchbox. It was a cooler full of everything that you could find at the grocery store. But it was delicious. But my teammates benefited, and my coach,
absolutely, and teachers and everybody.
Yeah, it was called the Magic Box. Anyway, we got way off track from all that, but above all, with all that stuff, trusting yourself, growing into yourself, you can grow out of old habits like I did with that. Yeah. Still late to some things, but trust yourself, be confident because that's going to help you get to the next level. I think one of the cooler things, though, in the pro ball experience, at least for me, was that we finally got to play against each other.
Yeah.
And not even playing against each other. We got to be in the same cities and bop around. So this was in 2021, and we're in Charlotte and Norfolk, and another great city for you to be in, Charlotte.
Charlotte was a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness, that's a great place also for distractions. And this is, I'm going to be honest. I love baseball, but baseball sucks sometimes. Like baseball can be the absolute worst, where you can do everything right and feel terrible.
Yeah.
For weeks.
Yep.
Or you can just do everything wrong and still feel terrible. Or then the small amount where you feel terrible and you get lucky.
Somehow you get hits. Somehow.
Those are the best.
It never makes sense, but sometimes.
But then we have superstitions and you go out and do stuff. And so just touch on a little bit. I mean, how much needing a break away from the field? I mean, we had those moments, which is awesome. I mean, for me or for you, bad game. All right, hey, let's meet up for some food or drink after the game.
Absolutely. I think you have to have that. When you become consumed with baseball and what your average is and what you did that night, and it kills relationships. It kills your mental. I mean, it knocks out everything. And so for me, it was what I've learned is being able to leave what happens at the field. There's still. Now I have a wife, so now I got to go home and be a good husband. I mean, all that stuff. If you don't leave that at the field, if you go for 4 and you bring that home, and she didn't go for 4. She didn't. She certainly didn't make me swing at the pitch in the dirt or do anything like that. So if you start bringing that home, I mean, it ruins relationships. And whenever you came to Charlotte, I loved it. Like being able to go out after just being a normal human being outside of baseball is such a relief during the season. Like you have to do that stuff. You have to get out and live a life. It's not just being consumed at the field all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's our livelihood. It's the career, but with everything you do, you can get burnt out, Easily. And I mean, we talked about it going after a season ends and you go home, you love the sport, but you need a break. It's grueling. I mean, think about this in the context when we speak it out loud. I mean, you're leaving soon. You're going to spring training. You're gone at minimum 8 months.
Yeah.
Put that in perspective. You are not coming back home for 8 months out of the year, and that's a completely different schedule. You are living 2 separate lives. And was that part, did you feel comfortable with? Was your dad able to give you kind of advice on any of that? Because Calvin gave me some advice, but it's until you kind of walk the walk, you won't really
Yeah,
You
exactly.
it won't fully resonate.
Right. You know, you hear stories, you understand what it is. You know, you see the schedule. It's like, oh, okay, you know, I'll be away. I'm going to be on the road for 50% of it. And, you know, you hear that and you hear how to handle it. But until you get into it and until you live that lifestyle, you really don't understand it. You don't understand the August grind, the dog days of August, the September, like all that stuff doesn't make sense until you go through it. So, I mean, for us, we hear stories about it. We know what to expect. But until you feel the way your body feels when you walk into a clubhouse in August and you pick up a bat to hit for the first time in August and your hands hurt, your body hurts, everything hurts.
Nothing feels good.
Nothing feels good, but it still counts the same as when you feel really good. I mean, that's all the stuff that you can be prepared as much as you want, but until you experience it, I think that's, you know, what minor leagues is so good at is, sure, you learn how to be a hitter, you learn how to be a pro baseball player, but you learn how to handle that stuff before you get to the big leagues.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, because once you're up there, it's even more of the business-wise. You either cut it or you don't. And
most important days are in August and September. I mean, our
if you're
playoff
trying,
run.
if you're and talk about with winning again, it's not only is it a livelihood for the teams, but all the fan bases that you have to win. If you're the White Sox, you guys, it's your goal. Anything else than competing for a World Series right now, it's irrelevant. Those games matter.
These games are the most important games that you play. I mean, you know, it's cool to see Baltimore experience it this year and get back in the hunt and get those young guys feeling, you know, because I got to feel it my rookie year was, what does a playoff race feel like? What does being in first place feel like? And for Baltimore and, you know, Adley and Ryan and those guys this year feeling, you know, what's it like to be in a chase? What's it like to try to win a pennant? That's when you learn, you know, the kind of baseball player you are. That's when you see, okay, who can handle August and September the best? And that's what, you know, Houston right now does it better than anybody.
Yeah, H-Town, you can hate Houston all you want, but they're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing. You're touching on your first year. It was funny. That's first off, you didn't get your first call up because I didn't catch you when you fell over, which I still to this day wasn't my fault. But I felt so bad about that because it was
as you
talked.
should.
No, but it was talked into it. I mean, playing the game, context, playing a game in Norfolk. Gavin's playing first, and we're chirping back and forth. Norfolk's dugout's first base side. Gavin's talking about his athletic prowess. And again, we're talking about that vertical leap that he doesn't have. But what was the reference? You said something along the lines of...
Well, I said, you know, I look over at first base, and for some reason it's an old stadium, so the dugout is, you know, only 2 feet, 3 feet high, the fence right there blocking us. I'm like, you better catch me when I go catch this ball in the dugout on this next play. And you're sitting there, I'm not going to catch you. I'm not going to catch you. I was like, all right.
I was honest about that. I said, I will not catch you.
We found out a couple of pitches later, you were very honest about that.
I swear you said, I'm going to Superman dive over and catch it, and you're going to catch me. But yeah, it was about a 7-foot drop.
Yeah.
And I remember my heart stopped, but you were fine. I think you were kind of milking it because then you went deep or something the next day. You came back.
I just wanted to get a DH day the next day.
Yeah, that's all you wanted. Play the card. But then right after that, right, is when you got the initial call up.
Yeah, I got the initial the false positive COVID test call up.
Oh God. Yeah. So imagine that experience. We're talking about everything you're fighting for. You're so excited, and so in that case, everyone makes a big deal about it, and then you go up there, and you don't play.
Yeah, I was up there for 2 days. You get the call. It's like, man, I'm making my debut tomorrow. You know, you call your grandparents, you call your parents, you call your family, friends. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Instagram. Like, he's getting called up. Get up there, super excited. But it never felt right when I got up there. Like, some people didn't know I was coming. Some people were like, who are you here for? Sure enough.
Feels good.
Yeah, sure enough, there was a false positive COVID test, and I was there for 2 days, never played, got sent back down right after, and it was like, okay, not the debut I was expecting, and you're almost like apologizing to your friends and that know you got called up because you're like, yeah, you know, I'm going back down. Sorry, I didn't play. Like,
yeah. Oh, how was it?
Yeah, it's a very awkward. Oh, are you playing? Well, no, I'm back in Charlotte. Oh, yeah, sorry. Like, it's an awkward exchange, but it all worked out. You know,
yeah, then you finally got called back up, and that
like
was
a
the
week
real
later.
thing.
Yeah,
Talk about being a hitter. The first one, this little poop shoot down the line, bloop. Well,
it was hit well.
Bloop. Yeah, smoked. smoked about 150 feet, right
Yeah.
down, perfectly placed.
Perfectly down, left field line off Maeda. And, getting that out the first at bat was awesome feeling.
Where's that ball?
It's right in my family room at my house. I got that first RBI and the first home run all together. So
So the first home run, were you obviously able to get it back?
yeah, so had to make a little trade. Some guys stepped up for me because obviously, my stuff wasn't as important to some of the fans as Tim Anderson and, Luis Robert and those guys' stuff. So TA stepped up and signed a bat for the guy, and, I signed a ball just in case he wanted that.
Case.
Right.
Well, hey, when this year he'll be saying, I got that ball.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how it works? But that's those little memories to look back on. But you're touching on it. Like, everything kind of went well for you to go up there that first year. I mean, I know once you got up there, but it was exciting. You were having all the success.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the playoffs. Guys, not an ideal playoff record.
Yeah.
Not performance.
Yeah.
Wrong word. Performance was subpar. You played well.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was still fun. I mean, that was exciting. You went deep in the playoffs too.
It was you always dream of. It's funny. My dad played 8 years in the big leagues and he never played in the playoffs, and I got to do it my first rookie year. And it's something that same thing as we were talking about earlier. Until you're in that moment, you don't understand what it's like. Getting into the playoffs was seeing grown men that were veterans be amped up and nervous, and you could see the nerves for game one of the playoffs. That was pretty special. Yeah. You just understood everything meant more at that point. We played in Houston to open up the first two games. First game was tough. Second game was really close. They came back and beat us. And then coming home for game 3 and playing in the blackout Sunday night in Chicago, it's something I'll never forget. The atmosphere there. We hadn't had a playoff game at home in a while. And the crowd that came out that night, all blacked out, Sunday night baseball, 7 o'clock. Like, to start that game and be in the DH role that night was one of the coolest baseball experiences I've ever had. And I don't think anything comes close. Yeah,
goosebumps feeling. I mean, that's like what you dream of. I'll pivot to this then. When you came up, I mean, what were your emotions when you're going through it? Was it what you thought? Was it what you dreamed? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Did you feel ready?
I felt ready. It was a combination of all that. You're excited, you're nervous. Just every emotion that you could possibly have is rolling that game. And for me, it was funny. I got called up, play first base my whole life, called up, play right field in my big league debut. Yeah, and so it was almost nice when I got into the batter's box is when I truly felt comfortable. It's like I was so nervous in right field that game, being up in the big leagues, first season playing outfield again. And so, like, when I walked up to home plate, it's like, okay, I know what to do here. Like, I feel confident here. I feel comfortable here. And so I feel like that almost helped me in game 1, my debut, to get a couple hits, to feel comfortable, because that was my comfort box.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing. It's still the same box, still the same plate, still the same distance, but everything's different.
Everything's bigger. Everything's
bigger. Everything matters more. Everything's better, pays way better than minor leagues, which that's been going through a lot right now. Of course, get out of pro ball, now they're paying for housing and paying for all the other stuff.
Out the wrong
Naturally,
time.
it's just how it goes. But now you go into the year 2, and you always thought that I was hating on the White Sox, which I never was hating on the White Sox.
Yeah, ever since you've become, the podcast guy and everything, all I see is what's wrong with the White Sox. So I had to check you a couple times to make sure.
What was wrong with the White Sox? I'll tell you what. You let the Indians, who they got some young guys, young studs, but I mean, they weren't supposed to do that. That was supposed to be your division. But all the expectations, you guys, this was supposed to be the team that was possibly going to be a World Series contender.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any memory stories of just what was the feeling? Like what I was going to say what went wrong, but what went right? It didn't feel like there was a ton of things that went right.
Yeah, it was a weird season. I felt like you look around the clubhouse, there's obviously some injuries. We always said even till August and September, like, we're going to click. It's going to click. We're going to get rolling. And when it gets rolling, like, it's going to be scary.
And I did say that. I said, it just feels like they're going to take over. We're on the same page.
Yeah. And so We just never. Every time we felt that spark, every time we got going, we couldn't keep it rolling as long as we needed to. And you finish 81-81, which everybody says is the worst record ever because you either got to be in a rebuild low or you got to be up above it 500. But
Yeah.
I'm excited for this year. It's funny. People are giving us an F in off season, and but we still have the same team. Obviously, we lost Jose Bray, who's a great mentor to me and, one of my favorite teammates ever and an unbelievable player. But we still have the same team that was just rated to win a World Series the year before. And, we haven't gone anywhere. And obviously last year didn't go the way we wanted to, but we still got a shot to be really good. Yeah. And, it's almost better to – I feel like when you have a team full of talent that has a chip on their shoulder, I feel like that's a dangerous team. And – the Guardians had their chip on the shoulder last year, and they played well, and they did everything they had to do. But this year it's going to be us with a chip, and that can be a scary combination.
Yeah, it's the Guardians. I keep thinking, we're getting back down memory lane. I don't know why I just went back to this with postseason and AL Central. I remember, or AL Central. I don't know if it was at the time, but it was the Indians at the time playing the Orioles, and talking about postseason stuff. I remember that was a year. I mean, thinking about that, my dad played 21 years and only went to one World Series and went to the playoffs the first couple of years, and then that period when your dad was there, never had the experience, and then again. So it's hard, but I mean, to your point, if you have the same guys and you're at the same point, I mean, you guys are my favorite to win, so don't let me down. To win the AL Central, I got to think about who I was going to win the title. I'm always rooting for the Sox, but I'll say there's one thing that always comes into mind. No matter what happens, is you were going to play well in Baltimore, wherever that's going to be. You went deep here the first time you played. Then last year, the series, I think you hit 800. And I remember talking to your dad, and this is about the whole. And I know you guys saying hit home runs. You went like 8 for 12. Mm-hmm. And then I remember saying, I'm like, yeah, Gav's seeing well. And he's like, well, it'd be nice if one of those could be a home run.
Yeah, all of a sudden the average guy wanted a home run.
Yeah, the average guy wanted the home run. Yeah. And I'm like, hey man, he just
take
lit
what
him
you
up.
can get.
And
right.
Everyone, but I mean, did you just love playing here so much, or was there extra incentive because you're home and it's kind of not that you're proving anything against the Orioles, but you come home and you want to put on, I don't know, kind of a show?
Yeah, I think obviously growing up, the Orioles were my team. I felt like I was a huge Orioles fan, obviously growing up, with my dad and just loving the Orioles, going to Camden Yards. It's where my love for baseball started. And so growing up, when I started to get into, I got a shot to play professional baseball, I was hoping the Orioles were going to draft me. And I always felt like I never got looked at by them. I never got a shot by them. I always played well when they came to watch me play, but they just didn't want me, which fine. But, I always had that chip on my shoulder just because I knew my love for Baltimore and the Orioles and growing up. And I was definitely hurt by the lack of interest that I had from them. I felt even in college, I remember their scouting director telling my dad, man, every time we come to see him, he goes deep, or he has a game like this where I hit like 2 home runs. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, why are you just purposely not going after? So, that I've always had that in the back of my mind. But now at this point, like, the White Sox are where I want to be. Chicago is incredible, and I'm in the big leagues with Chicago, and couldn't be happier.
Yeah,
but
life changes.
But when I come to Baltimore, I definitely, there's still that stuff in the back of your mind, but it's also coming to Camden Yards, seeing your friends, having family, and just the support group that comes out. Hundreds of people that that say hi to you, that root for you in your home away from home. That's always pretty special, and so it's definitely a comfort level, just a fun week in general, being here, getting to see family, sleeping in your bed sometimes one night, which is awesome, home cooked meals. So it just goes back to leaving baseball at the field and just being able to kind of feel at home again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And I think it's that everyone in life is, just because no one, it's frustrating. We want to feel valued. We want to feel that if we want something, we like something, that you hope that you have that aspiration that works out for you. But in life, it doesn't.
Right.
In this case, would have been a great story, but that's how the business was. But you didn't use that you didn't look at that as a negative. Then you use it as motivation. You use it as a positive.
Sure. And now, I mean, it's it's not even the same people that are in charge now. I mean,
No, man.
Elias and all those guys weren't even there, but I still hold it against them just
you
in
got
case,
to.
just so that when I show up there,
just so you know, when I come through, I'm gonna just keep raking
Right.
here.
right.
So,
The people that were before you, they made me mad, and so I still hold it against you guys. But no, I mean, to be in Chicago and play in the playoffs, rookie, all that stuff, like it's the journey has been way better than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
But to always have stuff like that in your mind that brings the best out of you, nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, nothing wrong with it, and it's encouraged, it's endorsed, and it just reminds me. It's just like in life, and now because me being out of baseball and in realizing it's always when you kind of look back, there's so many moments of being discouraged, and you can even look at it from feeling like a team that doesn't want to draft you, or you finally get to a certain level and you still don't feel like you're valued, or even like last year you're in the bigs to start the year and then you have to get reset, you get sent back down, and that obviously doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But you didn't let that stop your overall plan, and that's why you're accomplishing what you're doing now. Is there anything that you told yourself when those moments got maybe a little bit tougher, a little bit more frustrating? And because we're human. I mean, you could say all you want that, like, oh no, it didn't really bother me. Like, stuff bothers.
Yeah. April and May were definitely the two hardest months of baseball I've ever had in my career. And, from college, high school, early stages of pro ball, like everything, nothing compared to that.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that early in your career, right? There's, what I told myself was, when I felt like I hit the lowest of lows in terms of my performance, everything, I was like, you can do one of two things. You can shut it down now and, never get, like, I got sent down for, a week and a half. And I was like, I can never go back up to the big leagues again because, I just shut it down. I was like, or I can go back up and, only take off from here, like just learn from this. And it was awesome. I actually had a conversation with your dad. We talked for about probably an hour. And he was like, one thing that still stuck with me is, he's like, the player you are in April and May is not the player you are in September. And he's like, baseball is a marathon. And if you let April and May, a scuffle or whatever there affect who you are in September, by the time the season comes, he's like, that's your fault, So you always have the ability to turn your season around. And that still sticks with me. And, I appreciate him talking to me for that long of a time. But, he's so right. And that's what, I went down hitting 200 and came back up and caught on fire and finished the season, relatively well. And all that's because, I just made the decision that, I was going to try to go up from there. I was going to try to learn from it, try to build off of it, and make some adjustments and hopefully, set my career off.
Yeah, so to summarize it, you didn't get discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
You were frustrated. It was disappointing, but you did not lack confidence in yourself. You still believed in yourself, and then you were willing to put in the work. You were going to grind. You were going to. That's what you got to do. I mean,
and I had to fake it. I mean, there were days where I was like, I was mentally telling myself like, I couldn't get a hit if I tried.
Yeah,
and
so
I had to.
You're having that battle.
It was like
inside.
faking it, like just like, oh, you're a good player. Like you've got just continuously trying to tell myself that just to get me out of it. Until you start to put the results in, and then once the results come, then you can actually start to really feed off of that. But there are days where it's just continuously trying to tell myself, just positive feedback because it was in a rut. And every baseball player's been there. Every guy hits a different part of their career, and I was fortunate enough to, I think to hit that early on and learn how to deal with it.
Yeah, man. I wish that I was better with that. I wish that I understood how to handle the negativity. And for me, it's kind of, I always struggle with that expectation, especially growing with the family, that I felt like I always had to do more, never was good enough. And it's something I hate moving forward, or that I did when I played, but now moving forward, to your point, you got to, if you don't trust yourself, who's going to trust you?
Yeah.
If you can't put out there for yourself that you can go out there and put your best foot forward, and even tell yourself. One of the funniest stories, and I think it's just from what I heard, is Dustin Pedroia's story. Maybe I told you this about BP. Is that Dustin Pedroia had the worst BP. Like he was getting it off the fist. I think he broke a bat. Nothing was. It was just flaring balls. He came up to say hi to, I forget who it was. And he went up, was like, yeah, did you see that BP? And before they said, well, yeah, and he goes, I was killing it. He goes, I was hitting laser beams left and right. Like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm awesome. I'm on it. And then the guys are like, sure you are, Dustin.
You looked locked in today.
And so I wish that story is confirmed. So maybe you can get Pedroia on it to talk about that at some point. But that's the mindset right there.
Yeah.
Faking it.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that's a better one than telling yourself it's terrible. And I did a lot of those. I'm terrible. I went down the rabbit hole and jumped in the harbor with my thoughts. And but looking back, it makes you miserable. And so glad you touched on that. I'm excited to see what's going to happen for you guys in year 3. I really do. It should be a lot of fun. Just because we're getting close to wrapping up here with the whole offseason things, you move on. I mean, we're talking about all this baseball stuff, but what do you do to try to, we love the Ravens. We love the team. First off, is Lamar staying or what?
I think so.
Yeah, he's got to be.
I think so. I think he stays. I know the guys on the team want him to stay. He's a great player. I don't know if we can give him the fully guaranteed contract the way he plays, but I think he stays. I think he stays for at least another year.
You can't see him without it. I mean, we keep the Baltimore connection here, and we love to go down. We love to do the tailgates. We like to have the whole experience. Yeah. We've had a lot of long mornings, days, nights. What are other things you really look forward to when you have Gav time?
So I love, obviously you said earlier, golfing.
Yes, that is.
I mean, the off season's golf season, right? I mean, it's what I get into right when I get back.
What's the lowest temperature you are willing to play golf? Say it's sunny
with no wind.
We'll do wind and no wind.
Okay, with wind, I give you 40 degrees. I get 38 degrees. I can get out there and play happily.
Happily.
Good group. It's all about the group.
So
if you have a good group,
if you have good people
around you, a good game going on. Yeah. I'll definitely. I mean, maybe in 35.
Good people around you makes life better. Makes golf better.
Makes golf better, life better. But if
keep
it's
that in
windy,
mind, life better. Good people.
If we get some wind, you're gonna have to bump the temperature up for me because wind I don't enjoy. Wind and rain. Wind gets cold, so I'll go 48. 48,
specific.
50.
I'm glad you gave that. 48. It's a better.
I'm just thinking when you look at your Google weather and you say, all right, 48, 10 mile an hour winds.
You're right on it.
That's right on it. Back to the group. Who's playing?
Who's there?
This guy's playing. I'm out.
Yeah, Jimmy's playing. I'm done.
Jimmy, I'm out.
Yeah, So the golf. I'm with you. The golfing, but actually, since you're talking about weather. Baseball and weather, by the way. What's the weather game for baseball where you're going? Because that's a whole different level. I don't think if you haven't experienced hitting a baseball when you can't feel your hands, that is probably one of the worst feelings that I can imagine. Especially with me when you didn't hit it on the barrel. I did that quite a bit. Shattered some bats.
Yeah. Speaking of April and May,
you were never a good starter to begin with.
And that's the worst part about Chicago is, April and May, it's cold, cold. So you're trying to get things going, and you really appreciate the people that are playing in San Diego and L.A. and in domes while we're in, for some reason we have the worst division for weather, but yet no one has a dome. I don't understand how that works. But, you go to Minnesota and on a balmy 30-degree day or Detroit or Cleveland, none of those are exciting places to play in April and May.
Tell you what, it's not a place I'm looking to go travel.
That's not where you're vacationing in April and May.
No, hey, where do I want to go? You know what's great in April?
Yeah, Detroit.
Perfect.
Beautiful
35.
weather.
Oh, there's maybe 6 inches?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, a little mist.
We'll be
beautiful.
There. Yeah.
Bring your suntan lotion.
Yeah, so to your point then, what's the word? Can you handle, 50? Is 50 the cutoff, or you think?
For good baseball weather?
Yeah.
It's probably the same as golf.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Because you just said right there with no wind, you're saying 40. That is not good baseball weather.
Well, yeah, but
when
no
is
wind.
That good?
You can layer up.
You can layer up, but you still.
Under Armour makes good stuff to layer up with.
Yeah, they do. Well, good.
See
good.
That?
Yeah, see what you did there.
See what I did there.
Shout out.
I mean you can make stuff. You can make that work when it gets cold. We played a game in Wrigley last year on Sunday Night Baseball, and it was the coldest, most miserable game I've ever. Somehow the place was sold out. It was rocking. That made it. Made it so much better.
Oh yeah, the atmosphere makes the experience.
It was 30 degrees. It was sleeting. It was 30-mile-an-hour winds, 40-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, you want to draw up the worst baseball weather possible.
Right there.
that one. But it's the series. It's the crosstown series. It's the big, Cubs, White Sox, and fans were loaded for it, so we were ready to go. But
they were loaded for a lot of reasons.
Man, they had their alcohol blankets on.
Yep.
We did not.
That's what you need. But again, that's what you need for the weather. But yes, baseball, you don't do that. You wait for after the game.
Yeah, that's frowned upon when you do that, is it?
Yeah.
Before the game.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
But 50, I'll go 50. That's a good day.
Okay, thank you. That's better because 50 no wind. I agree with you.
That's good. Let's go do it.
50 sunny, count me in. Anything below that, it just, and again, maybe for me, it's just it is what it is. But it's okay. Got through that. We'll see what happens with the Ravens. Let's just do a quick. Let's do some quick hitters. Sorry. Tongue tie.
Hopefully it goes better than that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Usually I'm a lot more together and I'm not so Magoo, but
Yeah.
I am Magoo. Just kidding. So let's just quick hitters right now. Maybe if you don't know, we'll move on. Place you really enjoy hitting besides Baltimore. We already covered that. You hit 900 here.
I enjoy hitting at Yankee Stadium. I think it's a great place to hit. Obviously, small hitter-friendly dimensions. Their pitching staff isn't fun to face, but
No.
I do like the atmosphere there, and I like hitting there.
What about on your list to not go hit at?
Oof, I'm not a big fan of Detroit,
Well, I heard that. Yeah,
It's,
so just not just the weather.
and it's a big ball. I saw them moving the fence in, so that's exciting.
There you
I
go.
got excited about that, but that is a big ballpark.
Well, that's good for you to know. Okay, so we talked a little bit. What was your favorite minor league spot? It could be whether your locations or one of the best.
Charlotte. And nothing came close to Charlotte. I mean, that deserves a big league stadium at some point, I think.
Yeah, I feel like they want to try to expand. It feels like Nashville and Charlotte.
Charlotte and Nashville. I was going to say Nashville. Charlotte and Nashville. Those are two that blew everywhere else out of the water.
Yeah, it's a lot of looking, again, to have a lot of distractions to get your mind off. Great cities to explore. I remember even the Ravens had a preseason game. That turned into a great time, long time.
I'm sure you went for the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I did go for the game. The Ravens were undefeated in the preseason for like 4 straight years. You kidding me? Should have put some money down. All right, so what about talk to me about, we'll get off script here a little bit. Tom Brady just retired.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we've heard these conversations, is Tom Brady the best quarterback of all time?
Yes.
Where does Aaron Rodgers go in this conversation?
So a lot of people talk about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Good friend of both of ours, Jimmy Lambert. He talks about this all the time. He's an Aaron Rodgers fan.
Doesn't show his bias at all.
Doesn't show it at all. But it's the most winningest quarterback and NFL player in history. It's Tom Brady. You know what he does, getting the ball in his hands down the end of the games. It's hard as a Baltimore fan to say this, but it's going to be sad not to see him go, because even at 46 this year, I thought he was going to be able to make the run at the end of the game against Dallas. It just felt like he was going to do it. I mean, he's defying time, but you still are like, he's going to do it. So it's going to be sad to see him go.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I think he is, from everything he's done, the longevity, and we talk about the longevity of sports. That's the thing. He's 46. We're talking about with baseball now.
Some of the best athletes in the world coming to kill him.
Oh my goodness! I mean, think about with baseball right now. Our body's just trying to get through now. I mean, we're approaching mid to late 20s.
Yep.
I'm already there. I mean, the body I'm already starting to feel it now. That guy was 46 getting smoked by a 300+ pound lineman.
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, but he was great. And Jimmy, I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers, you can have you come on, not part of the debate, but you can't keep giving the excuse for Aaron Rodgers. He's great. Tom Brady, come on. We'll give Jimmy his moment.
7 Super Bowls are a lot more than 1.
7 Super Bowls, some would say that's a lot.
Some would say that's a lot.
Some would say that's a lot. And I know Aaron doesn't even have – well, actually, Aaron has the same amount as another Baltimore legend, Joe Flacco.
Elite.
And probably the best postseason from a quarterback in the history. Are we biased? Sure, but we're just following Jimmy's lead.
Though.
Last kind of tidbit, best piece of advice you've gotten with dealing with adversity.
Never change who you are, and just always believe in yourself. It doesn't matter where you get to. I see guys get to pro ball, get to the big leagues, everything, and try to change what got them there. Trust who you are, be confident in who you are. There's a reason you got to every spot that you're in, and trust in that work, trust in the person you are, the work you've put in, and don't change.
That's a good point. I mean, again, life gets older. You got to evolve. You got to get with the times. But we talked about trust who you are.
Yep.
Because as soon as you start losing your trust, no one else can trust you on
That's right.
Be the best version of yourself. All right. I think, Jam, we got anything else to cover? Good. I think that's our wrap-up cue. But, Gav, it's always a pleasure. I'll fly out to Arizona on you, and we will chat some more.
Absolutely.
Maybe get some other guys' opinions on some football matters, baseball. But look forward to it. Thanks for coming on, and that's all we got.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome.